Toronto Raptors are hot with a capital H. 6 wins in a row, winners of 8 of the last 10 games. They are killing it right now. Fred's an all-star. Siakam's not for some reason. I don't get it. But it's hard to really complain these days. The Raptors are killing it. And guess who's on the show to talk about it? Andrew Clarke with an E. Coming up right now on Toronto on Tilt.
Wow.
I love these intros so much. Although we gotta get the volume. We gotta fix the volume so that it's loud.
Andrew, we're live right now.
Oh, Andrew.
Okay.
Perfect
All
timing
right.
for Andrew.
You
All
have
right,
to
let's
redo
get
the
this
intro.
intro.
Did you see the video?
Which video?
The best video that was made today.
Yeah, it was Tony's intro video. But
Oh no, I didn't.
here, let's just get into all this. This is Toronto on Tilt.
We'll show you later.
I'm Steve Artabello. I'm here with Theo Giordano and Anthony Harris as usual, and Andrew Clarke has joined us because this is going to be basically an all Raptors episode. But as per usual, you can find us at our website, torontoontilt.com. You can find us at our Twitter, at Toronto on Tilt. We're live right now on Twitch, so check us out on Twitch. Just look for Toronto on Tilt. We're live right now on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, follow us, watch on YouTube. Just look for Toronto on Tilt. And of course, you can find the audio anywhere that you get podcasts. That's Spotify, Apple, Google
Breaker,
Podcasts,
Bleaker.
Anchor, Breaker, Bleaker, all of the things. Like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends. The Raptors are red hot. They beat Miami before we did the last podcast. Then they beat the Bulls and beat Miami again. And then they beat the hell out of Charlotte. They're on a 6-game winning streak, like Tony said. They're red hot. This team is healthy. This is what I wanted to see what this team could do when they're healthy. And let's get right into it because they look fantastic. And it's the starters just completely carrying them because it's the guys we all wanted to see play together getting to play together.
Like to point thing that Nick Nurse pointed out in one of the game interviews the other day. Although the bench hasn't been performing as we would probably hope they would. Ever since the game, they've had a stint point scorer off
Wait,
the bench.
Andrew, 1 second.
Andrew, yeah. You
You're
might have to
echoing a
connect
lot.
and come back because something's up with your connection. Yeah, you're echoing like a motherfucker.
Let's just restart everything and put the video on again.
Yeah, one second.
Man. As Andrew pops back in,
That was very expected. The line on him having technical problems was minus 1,000.
minus. Well, it was like the Canada-Switzerland betting line, which was like the most hilarious thing ever. What was it, like minus 15,660,000? It was the most hilarious thing on the planet. Like you basically had to bet 10 grand to win $5. It was awesome.
He was talking about the bench. We can talk about.
So if we can get straight to the bench, the bench hasn't been. Because
Really
people
used
think
that
back
much.
to a couple of years ago with the bench mob. Well, actually, at this point, it was like 5 years ago now because it was like Siakam's rookie season. But people think about this like a bench unit. But what's happened is instead you get recently it's been Chris Boucher, who's been phenomenal. You also had the precious games against Miami where he was even hitting corner threes, like real jacked up playing against his former team. But you're having a different guy kind of do it. And when you lean on the starters so hard, they end up playing such a short rotation, like you were saying, that one guy from the bench is going to pick up a ton of minutes, and one guy generally seems to pick up the slack. Like you'll randomly have a Delino game where he plays like 20 minutes and it ends up looking pretty good. You have a random Precious game where he's good. More often than not, it's been Chris Boucher, and Chris Boucher almost playing 30 minutes a night, even though he's coming off the bench and looking fantastic, doing a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that Chicago game, he was crucial. They wouldn't have won that game without the way Chris Boucher played.
He loves playing the Bulls. Like it might have to do with the fact that like Vucevic can't move.
They're horrible defensively. They're not good at all.
Didn't he have that like 38.29 rebound game against the Bulls?
Boucher, maybe.
Yeah, he had an insane game with the most ridiculous point total and rebound total ever. I think it was 28 or like 38 and 29 because he just missed 30 rebounds and he just missed 40 points. It was good. It was one of those things where it was like an all-time stat line. It's like Wilt Chamberlain has had this stat line, like Shaq, and then it would have been Chris Boucher, which would have been fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
He loves playing the Bulls. But I guess as we're waiting for Andrew to come back, the most important thing to me during the 6-game road trip is who they played. Not road trip, 6-game winning streak. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, it basically just shows you that this is so up for grabs right now, and we all knew when we got healthy we would see. Well, he's finally back here.
Okay. Am I good?
Sounds like it.
So far.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So we were just talking about the bench, and I think I picked up some of what you were saying, where essentially it hasn't been the unit that you would expect, where it's like you don't have like 4 or 5 guys, but you have 1 or 2 guys that are playing a ton of minutes. Almost like you'll have one guy that's almost playing 30 minutes a night. It's generally Boucher, but you'll have a guy who really steps up, or you'll have that random precious night. Like this is what I was saying while you were gone. You'll have the random precious night where, like against the Heat, where he's even hitting corner threes and he plays like 20 really effective minutes, or you'll have Delano Banton play 18 or 19 really effective minutes. And that's how it's kind of spread out, the fact that you haven't had a super deep bench. You've been lucky enough that one dude always seems to rotate and then play heavily with the starters, like to give each one of the starters off, because they also play with really super funky lineups, which you've been talking about for
months. I'm just really impressed with Boucher recently. Like he gave an interview with Yahoo Sports the other day, and you got to see a lot more of his personality. But like I'm just really impressed with like how he's been playing, because he's been making the right moves and he hasn't been jumping like crazy at every single three.
It's not a bunch of fouls, and he's not just shooting to shoot. Because like there's times where he's not feeling it, he's trying to shoot himself into a rhythm, and it's brutal. And you haven't seen a lot of that, and you haven't seen when he takes the stupid like. He's good defensively, but he can take a ton of fouls. He's so long, but he can take a ton of fouls. And like you said, he's not just flying to close out at the 3-point line, which he can block guys. That he does it often. He blocks guys at the 3-point line because he's so long. But it doesn't always work out that way. I know what you're talking about, where he comes flying out and either gets sidestepped or just obliterates the guy, and then it's 3 free throws.
Yeah, the Brooklyn game comes to mind.
Yep. But the improvement's been nice. Like the interview you were talking about, where they were talking about like essentially where has this been? And he's like, it should have been happening a long time ago. Like this is the way that Nick Nurse has wanted him to play, and he's kind of. He admitted he kind of resisted doing it, and now that he's been doing it, he's succeeding so much at it. So he's kind of like, I probably should.
It's crazy that so many of our guys have just found it this year and just become what you thought they were going to be, and it's all come together like the same time, which has made this run possible, and it made expectations go so much higher. But
front and center, Mr. Eastern Conference Player of the Week, Mr. Should have been an All-Star over LaMelo Ball.
You know, they showed him yesterday. Come on.
What we've seen from Pascal, not just this week, I want to say for about the last month, that is the version of him right before the bubble that people thought that he might work into by this time. Because he runs point when Fred's hurt. He's playing center other than that. I was just talking about this with Theo and Tony before we started recording. He seems to make one come out of nowhere block at the rim once a game, where they either funnel him down and he switches off his man and meets someone, or he comes around like chase down block someone who you had no idea who he jumped off of from the corner to come down and close out. His defense has hit another level. His playmaking has hit another level. Like Pascal has really kind of blossomed into the guy we all hoped.
I'm impressed. I'm irritated. The All-Star game, especially since this is just a slight little cut off point here. A forward got injured. We vote for people by their
position.
Their position, Yet when somebody gets injured, even on the Western Conference, they pick a guard and not another forward.
They picked LaMelo Ball. We were talking about this before. They picked LaMelo Ball because his game is made for an All-Star game, but at the same time, and because
All-Star game.
Yeah, he's more name recognition, and if you're gonna snub anyone, you're gonna snub the Raptors. And this isn't like Toronto bias; they're all out to get us. It's just like they don't get as much national run as all of the other American teams, and LaMelo's father gets him enough run no matter what that everyone has watched LaMelo ball since Chino High. And then when he went out to like Latvia and shit, right? Like everyone knows who he is. So he has kind of like, he has that star quality for an All-Star game. But Pascal
I was surprised he didn't just get in right away. I'm surprised they put Garland in before him.
That the Cavs have had. And Garland's had a phenomenal season.
You were saying already, like LaMelo.
He's built for All-Star games. Like he's just built for them because he's fun. And he's a off-field, the off-court star because of who he is.
I hope all right. Nice quotes during the weekend. That's what I'm hoping.
I was on a binge of just the Ball family videos. You know, like those part 1, part 2, the funniest moments. I was just stuck in it last night. I couldn't get out.
The first family of basketball.
When's Jello getting his shot? When are they going to free him from the G League?
Never.
He had a pretty gruesome injury.
Oh, well, the best was like everyone's like, look at what he's doing in Summer League. And it's like, did you know who's playing in Summer League?
You're like a 40-point game.
Yeah, it's Summer League.
Yeah.
Remember Markelle Fultz's debut in Summer League? So yeah.
Like people, like casual fans, they look at some horrible like NBA player and they think, oh, I could probably beat that guy. And it's just like then that guy shows up at the Y on a Sunday and drops 50 without even sweating.
Is it to you?
People say that shit about hockey, like, you know, oh, I could definitely do that. And it's like, no, man, because even the guy, like even the dude who played,
though, the difference is that they look like kids. The basketball players, I don't know how you'd say that. They look like monsters, even the ones that aren't very good in the NBA.
They say that about guys like Chris Paul and Kyle Lowry who aren't that tall. So it's like, oh, I can pass, you know, I can.
Yeah, it's like, you could, but you don't have the court away. Like those guys are literal. Like that's I know you're not saying that. It's always my argument is like, okay, yeah, you have the same stature as them, but like that's your basketball knowledge as like a fan. Even if you're like one of the most, it's like at a kindergarten level compared to a point guard like Kyle Lowry or Chris Paul. Like the way they see the game, the way they see it multiple plays in advance. Like there's a reason that they're 6 feet tall and this fucking good. Like Chris Paul is going to go down as one of the best 3-point guards ever to play the position, and Kyle Lowry's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I would say that.
Right? Like it's wild.
So real quickly though, so I wanted to say something about Chris Middleton. Okay. Or
when did this come out of?
All right. He's not the second best player on his. The Bucks are a top 2 team, sure, but in my opinion, if you were going to select a team to have 2 players, it should the Heat or the Raptors or even the Cavs, because the thing is that what do you call it? Half name again? Jared Allen.
Oh yeah.
He is like
he's having a great season.
Stifle Tower, essentially. He does exactly what Gobert does on the Jazz, and they're both in the 4th position in their conferences. So what I don't is in a year that it is in Cleveland, you guys needed a forward to replace forward, and he pretty much was the netting on Cleveland. Why did you select Jared Allen instead of selecting a guard? And
Andrew, you're saying some good stuff.
But every once in a while it's echoing. Yeah, every once in a while you're getting a whoa.
I don't know what's going on, if it's like your headphones or if it's...
just unplug your headphone and plug it back in.
It doesn't make any sense though why you wouldn't go with a hometown guy, like with a Cleveland Cavalier. I do agree, and I do agree with no, it just happened again.
Not at all.
You might have to shut her down and rejoin once again.
Or you just
you know what? I'm gonna switch up. 1 second.
All right. As Andrew switches up,
I made a whole topic card for him too.
Well, I was just gonna move over to the fact that so we wanted to talk about the starting five, right? And seeing them all together and then playing together and seeing what you could get out of them. What you're getting out of them is 95 points a night. You're getting basically 22 and a half out of Pascal. You're basically getting 22 out of Fred. It's like 21 and a half right now. You're getting 18 and a half a pop out of OG and Gary Trent Jr. And you're basically getting 15.
Did they all get over 20 last night?
I think so.
Or maybe 4 of them did.
I think 4 of them did. I think one of them didn't hit 20. But that's like your starting lineup is giving you 95 points a night. Just based on their averages. Like, it's insane. Like, it's the balance on this team, the fact that you have a bunch of guys that share the rock, the way that they play, like, it's phenomenal. Like, they are knocked over my screen. But like, it kind of brings me to the trade deadline and what I want to see them add. Because when you have a starting five that's this good and you have pieces around them that have had the seasons that, like the moments that Chris Boucher has had this year, I feel like they deserve an addition at the deadline, right? Like this team, and I was talking to you guys about it earlier, cap-wise in the offseason, they can only really offer the mid-level exemption. Blake Murphy does a great job explaining cap situations and all that. So if you want the real in-depth stuff, go check him out. He will break it all down for you into spreadsheets and make it make sense. But essentially, long story short, is this offseason they can only really afford to give the mid-level exemption. And if you're thinking of like what type of player you're getting, CJ Miles is that's the last mid-level exemption I remember the Raptors using. So that's the type of player you're getting. Useful, but you're not getting someone who's going to make a big impact. You're not even getting like a six man, like a piece off the bench that's a really big piece off the bench. You're getting a useful rotation piece.
Which
like a 12 to 15 minutes a night.
It might be all you really need, because you look at how these guys have turned into stars. It's not like you need another one of those big pieces.
But if you make a trade, well, what I'm saying is if you make a trade at this deadline, you might as well go big because you can't do it in the offseason, right? Like you're locked in. So if you're going to add one more big piece, I'm not saying you add a rental. You're buying something that's a long-term piece, at least 2 seasons. So my big thing when I saw all these trades happening before the report that now he's happy that Tyrese Halliburton's there and he wants to play with Tyrese Halliburton is Miles Turner was exactly where my brain was going. Like I wanted him so badly. And then I would like them to get like a Miles Turner and then another 3-and-D wing. More likely though, a 3-point, like they need a shooter. If they could get a shooter and I think personally a real center, because it just allows them to match up better with more teams. I think if you add that to this Raptors team, the East is wide open in a way that even I wasn't 100% sure of. Like I was basically saying like, oh no, the Raptors are good, but they're not a title contender. And now you're looking at the East
behind us,
right? And then you watch how they play the Bucks, and you watch what they just did to the Heat. And I've been saying the Bulls aren't as good, you know what I mean? That let's see in the playoffs.
Yeah.
This has become a more open situation than I even anticipated. And this roster is good. So I open the floor to you guys since I've basically just monopolized this whole little thing right now, kind of going on a soapbox here. I think they kind of need to add. I think they need to add big. And I think you're adding like a big piece that's going to be part of this group. Like, I don't think you're subtracting from the group either. You're not trading a Fred. Like, this isn't like go get Dame Lillard at the deadline because Portland's tearing it apart. I mean, I'm cool with that. I don't care what the fuck you have to give up to do it. If you can do it, fine. But that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying more of like a guy that's in the window, a 25, 26, 27-year-old guy, not a prospect and not a one-year rental, but a guy that's right in his prime that can grow with this team, that's potentially going to put them in the real contender status this season. Andrew, if you want to kick it off.
I would say that when it comes to, all right, so the Miles Turner thing is kind of annoying because I don't think that Indy is going to trade him now because
now I think that's what I mean. Like now that like all the reports are he's actually happy, even though he's been on social media tearing the team apart for like 2 months.
Yeah.
But apparently he's happy to play. I mean, I would too if I was him, to play with Tyrese Halliburton, because that pick and roll combo. We were talking about this before we were recording.
Yeah.
That could be deadly.
I just don't know who would, because like a lot of people talk about Halliburton, and because like at the time that I have to work and whatnot, I don't really get to see the Kings.
And he
play
plays
that
for the
often.
Kings, and the Kings suck.
Yes. But like the thing is that with Turner, I was really hoping that the Raptors would be able to pick him up, because he just fits so well with what we need at the moment.
What do you think about Jakob Poeltl, Andrew?
I'd love it.
Poeltl would be good. It's just that on the offensive end, I'm still a little bit worried with how having a person who doesn't shoot the three would play well with Siakam. That's my only issue. Because
the fact that Miles Turner's not a great 3-point shooter, but he can make it, like, you have to send a guy out there, because if you leave him open, he's gonna drain them.
Mm-hmm.
To have a big that plays defense like his, that's as mobile as he is, that can do that and be his size. Because we were talking about this beforehand. The reason I brought it up is I love Cam Birch, but he is not healthy. He's never been healthy his whole career. He just never has been. And this year, I don't think you can count on him to be that guy that's going to bang with bigger centers. Go get a real guy. Because like we're talking about how great Chris Boucher is, but Chris Boucher isn't going to bang with a big 7-footer. Like, we talk about him destroying Vucevic, but that's because Vucevic can't play defense. He doesn't move, right? Like against a guy who, like against Jared Allen, if you have to play the Cavs, against Joel Embiid, if you have to play the Sixers, like, you're going to have a problem if you don't have someone that can at least body with them for rebounds. Like we were talking, even like now that it doesn't sound like Turner's great, but it doesn't sound like that's going to happen. Tony, you were talking about Nurkic. If you want to go into that, and then Andrew, what you think about that? Maybe Yusuf Nurkic from the Blazers,
because you'd only have him for this year. But I mean, just looking at what Portland's doing, you get him for pretty much nothing.
See, if you're gonna go for a 1-year deal, like I think you can get Yusuf Nurkic for like Dragic's contract and a 2nd-round pick. The way that the Portland's doing it, maybe 2 2nd-round picks, but one of them's in 2027 because that's the way shit goes now. But realistically, like if you look the way Portland, like that Norman Powell trade is so bad, which makes the Gary Trent Jr. trade look even better for the Raptors.
You think they're going to want to do business?
Even worse.
They're not going to want to do business with the Raptors again after that.
It's going to be like
to do business with Masai. Nobody wants
it's going to be like James Dolan canceling trades, the Kyle Lowry trade, which ended up winning for the Raptors. So, hey, watch. Maybe it's going to be something else for some reason they go to trade someone we love, and then it doesn't happen because the guy who owns the Trailblazers is shook because Masai and Bobby Webster are out there. Please tell me you saw the end of Bobby Webster's media availability today. At the end of it, because they were talking about trades, he got up, he like went to walk away, and then he smiled, looked at the camera, and juggled the fact that he holds 2 phones.
Yo, Bobby's great, honestly.
Yeah, but yeah, sorry. Back to Yusuf Nurkic.
So the thing with Nurkic, I wouldn't mind it, especially if we don't give up much to get him. That's if I'm talking like if you're going to make a trade, make a big trade. But if you're going to get a rental, you're getting guys that don't cost much. Like you're not giving up a 1st-round pick for a rental. You're giving up a 1st and pieces for a 25-year-old big man, right?
He's
like
doing
that's
the Gary Trent deal again. Is basically what you're saying.
Exactly.
The Nurkic is a underrated passer.
Yep.
He doesn't space the floor. I'm not even sure if he shoots threes in all honesty, but that
he doesn't
not really.
But
it's not
the
really
way like the way his game is, it almost doesn't matter.
Yeah, like we just need him to like prevent like someone like Embiid from killing us. Like
this is right before like the podcast. I was talking with Theo and Tony, literally saying that it's like he's not going to defend Embiid, but the thing is he's going to give you a chance on the boards, and going down the other way, he at least makes Embiid work on the defensive end, which impacts him offensively if you have to at least slow him down by throwing a big body like Nurkic, who's going to take it, go into the post, and hammer on him. Now, again, Joel Embiid is Joel Embiid. He's one of the best defensive players in the league. Forget his position, right? But tiring him out in a 7-game series means something. So... right, like that would be the idea between for a Yusuf Nurkic. Any other trade targets that you would look at?
So again, there's Poeltl. That would have been pretty good. I like some people on Raptors Twitter were talking about getting Valanciunas back, but apparently he can't be traded because of.
Did they extend him? I think does the extension kick in? Because that's probably why he can't be traded.
I'm not sure. Like, but Blake Murphy was talking about that, like how he can't be traded for some of whatever reason.
It might be because of an extension. Like, you know, the way that contracts are in the NBA, and they have all the weird stipulations. So it's probably something to do with he probably signed an extension, and it's probably when he signed it. There's that a certain amount of days you can't be traded for and shit. So yeah. Like he probably will be eligible to be traded, but it's after the trade deadline, so he can't. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they're trying to get in the play-in tournament this year now too. So,
well, yeah, they traded for CJ McCollum.
Yeah. I don't know. I honestly, because like I'm trying to think like somebody else who like really fits the needs.
Yeah, like Sabonis would have been great, but that happened, and that trade is terrible.
Yeah,
the Kings. The Kings are just stupid, but that's the Kings being the Kings.
Yeah, is Vlade still in charge over there?
Yeah.
Okay. Like, what do I say about good NBA players being bad, like general managers for the most part?
Yeah, it doesn't work out well.
Yeah, I think they looked at it as like they wanted to get another star, and they can't sign people, so they trade for a guy who was locked in for a while. Sabonis, and he's only 25.
Yeah, but Sabonis only has 1 year left after this, and then can be an unrestricted free agent. And Tyrese Halliburton, you owned his rights for the next like 6 years.
He just signed a new deal.
Sabonis he's got 1 year left after this year on his last deal.
I swore he.
Him and Turner have the same like they have 2 years left. They have 1 year left past this year. And they almost make identical. I think one makes 18 and the other one makes 18.5.
So Sabonis has 2 more years.
Really?
And then they can,
I thought they only had one. Okay.
From to stay, which I mean that doesn't really make them better. So if it was Fox, then it would have been good.
It would have made more sense if they because then they would. But then it wouldn't have made sense with Buddy Hield because you would have been dumping too much. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I think the Pacers did really well here.
Yeah,
they got the better like. There's an argument to be made Tyrese Halliburton is better right now. He's at least close.
You could say at his age and what he does both ways.
And the way the league's going, like the fact that it's such a guard-centric league, like you could make the argument that he's already the better player in the trade.
No, I remember because Halliburton was in the Ben Simmons trade rumors, and I was it was like Fox and Halliburton for Ben Simmons, what they wanted, and they like, why would the Kings ever trade Halliburton? And they said no to Ben Simmons, but they say yes to Sabonis.
Yeah,
that's an interesting decision. I don't know.
I would say that the Kings, after the Raptors dusted them like 2 times this year, right? Like it was horrible.
Yeah, we blew them out on the road. I remember that.
Yeah, and I think everyone was hurt too. I think that was one of those situations where like everyone was hurt.
Didn't Banton have a huge game? I might remember something different.
I think he did actually.
Like it's like Alvin Gentry, he's the interim coach right now, right?
Yeah,
that's correct. Yeah. So
I feel bad for Alvin Gentry. How does he end up in all of these terrible situations?
He doesn't want to be there.
He always ends up in the worst situations. It's like when AD was like, I'm not playing for New Orleans anymore, it was Alvin Gentry. Like, he always is the coach when all hell is breaking loose. I feel so bad for the man.
It's really not fair. Like, he should have been the one in Golden State, but whatever. The Kings play really quickly because they don't have any half-court offense.
Yeah.
And so I do see maybe what the Kings are looking at here is that this is someone who excels at half-court offense that could probably do something when they can't get out and run.
Well, that's he should be good in the pick and roll. Like, he should work with Fogg. Like, they should be able to do like. It should kind of work. It's just like, again, I don't understand why the Kings trade Tyrese Halliburton. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
They made their decision by paying Fox as much as they did.
They did that before they did that, and then drafted Tyrese Halliburton the same year they paid him.
Yeah,
or the year after, because his contract, how contracts kick in.
Yeah,
right? Like they gave him that money. It kicked in last year when they draft Halliburton.
Like Fox, he's just a very limited guy, and they're paying him so much. So you're basically thinking he can lead you to a championship.
Well, the hope was Fox was going to be John Wall, right?
Yeah.
Because with the speed, that's what I thought Fox was going to be coming out of college.
Honestly.
Coming out of college, I looked at John Fox. I was like, holy shit, this is John Wall 2.0. And it just, like, I think people also don't remember what healthy John Wall was like because he's been hurt and like he hasn't been around for a while. Like, healthy John Wall, like,
frightening.
Yeah.
Well, he was a ball guy too, played defense.
Yeah.
Fox does not.
Well, that was like
go back to
and Fox had the history of doing it in college. Like he did play defense. It's just it didn't translate in the same way. The speed also, like he has the speed, but it's not like John Wall had the speed and the like. Fox is a good passer. John Wall was a great passer. Man, like, one of the four of us could have stood in the like. Obviously not, but you know what I mean. Like the guy.
Anthony thinks he could.
No, I don't.
Is Steve gone?
He has these technical issues. Usually,
that he had
twice a show. This is a long technical issue. I think you're back now, Steve. We didn't hear any of that.
Yeah, I'm back. Oh, I know. But I was saying like the different guys that stood in the corner over the time that John Wall was there. Like, remember when Otto Porter Jr. was the thing? Remember when he got a max contract?
He was a 3rd overall pick.
Yeah. And remember how good he looked as that 3-and-D, like, oh, he can play stretch 4. He's a 3. Oh my God. He's 6'8", but he's got a 7-foot wingspan. It was all because he was hitting those threes because John Wall was just chucking them open threes in the corner and everyone was chasing Bradley Beal into the other corner.
He's like Chamberlain's grandson. You look at their pictures side by side, they look exactly the same. I don't know if you ever thought about it that way, but they do.
Honestly, I don't know if you want to get that deep, but like, you never know.
Otto Porter Jr. is nowhere near.
Wow, that's a good call, Anthony.
Yeah.
They did like I don't want to put pictures on here because I don't know if we'll get.
Oh, did they do like a? Well, okay.
They like made the picture look kind of older, so you can like see it in the same lens. It's I can't tell the difference.
Oh my God! Yeah, actually, the one with him in the Warriors jersey is.
Yeah, that's the one I'm looking at.
Yeah, that's actually hilarious. Back to the Raptors though, because we got sidetracked talking about.
Random trades.
Just all the random trades because of the Tyrese Halliburton trade.
Okay, so real quickly though, like, do you feel if the Raptors avoided playing against Philadelphia, is there really an issue with not having a center?
Well, here's the thing: I'm not even that super shook about having to play Philadelphia without a center because look at the rest of the roster.
Mm-hmm. Let Embiid get 50 and 60. We'll stop everyone else.
Yeah.
What's their plan going into this deadline too? Like they're not trading Simmons, right?
They're going to get Eric Gordon.
Oh my, that would be such a bad idea. Like realistically, what they should be doing is trying to trade Ben Simmons for Harden or Dame. Now that Harden apparently doesn't want to stay and all of that shit that's going on in Brooklyn and the fact that Dame, like everyone's being traded from out from under Dame. Like if you're Daryl Morey, you're basically being like, please take him. The only issue is, you know who else could do something like that?
Who?
Cleveland. They get Colin Sexton. And Colin Sexton has his own issues, but which one of the issues do you want to deal with? The one that's an asshole that plays really hard, or the one that's an asshole that is soft?
I take Ben Simmons still.
You're still on that hype train?
Ben Simmons is way more potential, but I'm saying, like, who are you going to get?
Well, at a certain point, he's going to have to play.
After a certain point, we have to stop talking about potential, though.
Yeah, because here's the thing. If he's still afraid to shoot, then he can't play point guard. He plays power forward and put him in the post because he's huge. Like his game has to change. If he's going to play the way he's playing. Yeah, Tony.
On his situation. If he flipped for Harden, he'd be really good in Brooklyn. If you ask me,
he could be because there's so much shooting there.
Yeah,
right? Like that's and if he went to Portland, he'd be the center of the team. Like they would build the team around him.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's also why I bring that I bring that up. Brooklyn allows him to fit and play because it's basically KD's team and Kyrie when he's there and healthy. Because that's another thing. Well, not even just COVID. Kyrie gets hurt all the time.
Yeah.
Like forget the fact he's unvaccinated and could get COVID at any and be in the program longer than anyone. Like just the fact that he could literally at any time hurt his shoulder. Like he could bump his shoulder. Remember in Boston?
He's unreliable.
Yeah, like, he bumped his shoulder and was done for the season. Yeah. Well, that was another thing that happened. Yeah, exactly. He just left.
Yeah. So,
I keep forgetting Kyrie has done some of the most ridiculous shit on the planet. Like last year where he just left. He just left.
He didn't take his clothes off, so that's how he didn't one up somebody. There's a whole new standard to that now.
True.
Yeah, no, I like in terms of again, what we need. We just need somebody who can go on to the bench unit so that the Raptors starters don't have to play as much.
I think it'd be nice to get like the core piece and specifically like a guy like Turner who's young and he plays the 5 and blah, blah, blah. That'd be great. That's ideal. If that's not going to happen, you need some offense off the bench, specifically a dude that can shoot.
Yeah.
Like as weird as this sounds, you have enough playmaking because it comes from so many different positions, right? Like even though Delano's technically your second point guard, it's actually Pascal. And then Scotty's kind of the third one, if you really want to talk about it, right? And it's just they have that. They need a dude who can just a flat out shooter. That's I think what they like. They could use
Kyle Korver.
Honestly, yeah. Like you need
who's like that on the market.
I'm trying to think. Like Wayne Ellington plays for the Heat or the Lakers already, so you're not going to get someone like that.
Terrence Ross, you can bring back.
Terrence Ross. Well, if
he's having the worst shooting season of his entire career right now.
He also makes like 18 and a half. But like, see, here's the thing. If TJ Warren hasn't missed over a year, I'd say go try to get TJ Warren out of the Pacers.
What about Eric Gordon?
How many years is left on that contract?
Isn't it just one? I don't know.
Yo, Steve says.
If it's just one, sure. But if you're paying Eric Gordon $25 million for any more than 1 year where he's going to play maybe 15 minutes for you a game off the bench.
He's got one.
Man.
Because they need... I don't know, because what's probably going to happen if they're not making a big deal, you're just going to see like little bits. You're going to see a couple of bit pieces. Like you would see like a Wayne Ellington type player is I think what you're going to end up seeing if it's not something big. Like that's why I bring up names at the very end of the roster.
Are there any older players on losing teams?
Oh, like buyout potentials? I'm trying to think about who could be a buyout guy.
Because guys were talking about Harrison Barnes on Twitter too, but I don't know.
I don't think they're going to.
That's just like another guy.
Harrison Barnes likes playing in Sacramento too.
Really?
He re-signed. Well, they also gave him all of the money, so maybe he doesn't like it. Maybe they're just dumb enough to give him all of the money, and he was like, "Thank you."
Knicks were interested in Harrison Barnes, so I don't.
You know what? Actually,
Bogdanovich on Atlanta.
Here's an interesting one. And I bring it up because he has played, I think it's 3 total minutes since the Knicks traded for him.
Cam Radish.
Yeah.
Let's get him.
I don't know the rules with that. Didn't he just get traded?
Fuck. It's probably 60 days. It is 60 days. He won't be eligible to be traded until after the deadline. You're right. Mm-hmm. You're right. That would be an off-season move because like Tibbs doesn't like him and isn't playing him. And
That's so bizarre.
And he would he's 6'8".
Guys who don't
like
rotate.
he'd be and he's young, so he'd be part of like the group going forward. But that would be an off-season move because completely talking about stupid rules. Yeah, he's been traded. The trade's official. He's a Knick, so it doesn't like you can't do one of those backdated 3-way trades. It's official, so you wouldn't even be able to get him.
I think Bogdanovich would be a good good choice. In my
The fact
opinion.
that Atlanta's fallen bat, how many years does Bogdan have on that contract? I actually wouldn't even mind him next year. Just that, like he's the type of shooter, he'll never start for you, but the games where he gets hot, like he's gonna score 30. He's gonna have no rebounds, no assists. Like, it's only gonna be shots. But like that's actually what they need. They need one of those dudes who can just like get super hot. They can
free
throw
agent 2024. So what year is it now? 2 more years?
So it's 2 more years. Actually, I wouldn't hate that.
2 more years after this year.
Honestly, Andrew, I thought he was a dude when that contract got voided. I thought he was like a super important part of that. Would have been a super important part of that Bucks team. In the same way that he would have stood in a corner and you would have had Drew Holiday and Giannis really doing everything, and then Chris Middleton's drawing the first look for the kick.
Why did they void that?
Because there was they were talking to him beforehand. Like they broke the tampering rules. No, yeah, exactly. No, exactly. Exactly. No, exactly. That's why it was stupid.
This guy Adam Silver.
Oh, okay. Another guy that the Raptors are apparently interested. I think he also plays for the Hawks. Danilo Gallinari.
Gallinari.
Oh yeah.
Do you guys remember years ago?
That would be awesome.
During like the Bargnani like Raptor years, people were comparing him and Bargnani.
Like Gallinari when he came into the league,
they're Italian.
Dude, when he came into the league, he was traded for Melo. He was the centerpiece of that Melo trade.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
Like he was the guy. Yeah. Like when he came into the league, he was supposed to be he was supposed to be one of those. It was the same thing with Michael Beasley, right? Like he's 6'10", he shoots from look at this guy. He should be
potential.
Right? Like those were the type of those were the guys where you looked at them and you're like that, like if you could create a player in 2K, like that's what you do. He's 6'10" with the length of a 7-footer that can shoot the three, that can break guys down off the dribble. Like he's not got great handles, but for his size, he's got great handles.
Yeah.
Right? He's not a point guard or anything. For a dude who's 6'10", though, he can fucking move. Yes, get on the phone with Atlanta and try to steal one of those guys.
Like I would trust Bogdanovich a little bit more on the defensive end than Gallinari, personally.
I don't think either of them play defense.
Like because they faced Atlanta like a couple of times recently, and based upon what I've seen. At least Bogdanovich puts his hands up and he doesn't reach.
Well, they also could use Bogdanovich more than they could use another guy who's 6'10".
Yeah.
Right?
Because it's not like he's really that heavy to where you could say, "Oh, here's our Embiid stopper."
No, he'd just replace Boucher.
Yeah.
Like that's exactly the position he'd take because he like in those random things where Boucher's playing the 3, that's where Gallo would be playing. He'd be the exact same. Like that would be the exact flip.
Yeah.
How likely do you think it is that Boucher is gone this deadline? Like if you put percentage on it.
If they,
it depends what they're adding.
Yeah, like because like
this trade to be for certainty then.
Yeah, my thing is that to get someone like Turner, we wouldn't be able to just send like a Goran.
No, that's the thing. You'd have to add instead of just Goran's contract, you'd have to add in the sweetener. And you're not getting that with Malachi Flynn.
No.
Like you can throw him in because some team might be like, well, he was a first-round pick, and maybe if we get him into our system and we give him playing time where he's like, in our top 2 options, like you can see an NBA team talking themselves into it, but not in a way where they'd be like, ooh, Chris Boucher. Well, that's a guy we'll re-sign in the offseason and make part of our rotation. Right? Like I could see a team being like, okay, like we can especially a team like the Hawks, who's not a team that's rebuilding. That's a team that's trying to like get their shit together, right?
Yeah. And I would prefer to keep Boucher if we were trading to the Hawks, but yeah.
If you got Bogdanovich and Gallinari and you gave up Boucher, Goran, and a pick,
I wouldn't mind that.
Like, right, because then, right, like now you're talking about a like for a like, and you got that huge offensive upgrade in Bogdanovich, and now you're talking about like a 7-8 man, like your 7-man, 8-man playoff
and it's a
rotation.
multi-year move. It's not just a rental, right?
Yeah, and again, well,
for a bit.
what I was talking.
Well, he was talking.
I think Gallinari's pretty much a rental, I think, but
Yeah, he's got one more year after this. I just checked.
Okay.
But basically, it's nothing long term, which is what we're basically discussing. Is that every move we make is with the next couple of years in mind. But he's back in here now.
Real. Sorry, Steve. Go ahead. You were still talking.
Oh no, I was like I'd been trying to say, it's a multi-year move. It's you get them for 2 years, so when you would be capped out in the offseason and you'd only be able to offer the mid-level exemption, like your roster would be set though. You know what I mean? Like Boucher would be gone, but you have his replacement. Actually, I think Gallinari is a free agent, but you would have Bogdanovich. Well, then even perfect. So there's your Boucher replacement, except you have him the next year, right? You have Bogdanovich next year. Gary Trent's locked up. Fred's locked up. Pascal's locked up. Scotty's locked up because he's a rookie. Like everyone is locked up that matters, right? Delano, who's playing minutes, like he's a rookie. He's a second round pick. You got him next year. Like you have these guys. So then when you can give the mid-level exemption, then you're actually getting a guy that fits in properly, who's your 8-9 guy in the rotation, right? Like if you make that type of move, I'd very much be in favor of it because you're doing your shopping for this season and next season. That's what I'm talking about. You're making that big move. So I'd be here for it. I'd really be here for it if you could make that type of move with the Hawks.
The thing too is that Bogdan, like after watching him for a little bit, I feel like he can run a second unit.
Oh, like, on a second unit where he's not playing like top tier defenders, he could torch guys. Like the amount of point, like he could go nuts. And in this Raptors offense, the way they move, like if he's stepping in to essentially like give Gary Trent blows and then kind of fill that role like as the shooter, or you put both of them on with the way that you could technically, if you really wanted to, play big and have Pascal play point. You could have both of them, right? Like in the corners, and then you'd have you'd have OG and Scott. Like you could just do some really wild shit in terms of defensively, offensively, and formation wise with a move like that. Now I'm talking myself into it.
I really like this one. Like other than maybe getting like, I don't know, Pirtle. Out of the realistic trades, those are the ones that I'm kind of leaning towards, mainly because they don't involve us having to give up so much.
And if you're looking at Atlanta, right, like that's them keeping their young players, they're getting rid of older players, and they're getting rid of money. Like it also makes sense for a Hawks team that doesn't think they're bad, right? They just need to get their shit together. Like John Collins, I mean, hell, if you can get John Collins, that's a whole different story. But I don't think they're trading John Collins. I think he's part of the core with Trae Young.
Now he's off,
Yeah, like I think.
Well, he was only involved in like a Ben Simmons trade. I don't think he was really going for anything else.
Yeah, no, exactly. But because John Collins shouldn't go for anything.
Yeah.
If you can get a John Collins, you should hold on to a John Collins tightly. I love the Raptors.
You think Boston would give up Time Lord?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
What about Fred VanVleet 3-point contest? How much is he going to win by?
Okay, so I have to say that I don't think he's going to do well in this because again, just like Kyle Lowry, he's a pretty high jumper when he shoots the ball. Like he gets really low and he winds up a pretty good amount of time and then he shoots.
And Fred's a lot of like, for a point guard, there's a lot of pull up with Fred. And when Fred takes his feeder set threes, he's generally taking them from way downtown. Like he's more like Fred's set up as an in-game 3-point shooter. Like Kyle Lowry was the perfect explanation because once he's in the flow of the game, he's going to pull up and fire one. He's going to shoot one from fucking half court. He's like, when he's feeling it. The problem with the 3-point contest is if you miss a couple early and you don't like really get into it and you're that type of shooter where it's a real rhythm thing, you're fucked. Like, that's how you end up making like 4 in the entire competition. Like Freddie is a better game player than he is one of these event like, you know what I mean? Like that's why you have guys like Jason Capono that win the 3-point contest.
Well,
because he's used to just grabbing the ball off the rack and shooting because that's all he fucking does.
It's not the first time Fred's had some doubters.
This is true. Yeah, it's very true.
You know, roll the dice. Roll the dice. Honestly,
all you guys doubting Fred, he'll remember.
He's a Final Four participant.
I
would have killed the skills competition.
I would have preferred to have Gary Trent in the 3-point shootout.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking about that too.
He's a guy that I could see, like real smooth, doesn't move a lot on his 3, doesn't get real hot. Like he's a guy who looks like he's built for it. Honestly, where like if you look at the motion of his shot, it's so like there's so little movement that thinking about him just taking it off the rack and shooting, like he could just get right into his thing and like I totally agree. He's set up more for something like that. But that's like we're talking about stupid shit that doesn't matter for something that's fun. You know what I mean?
Next year he'll be in it.
Yeah, like we're getting into the nuts and bolts of something that's just for fun.
So what can keep this win streak going? Because like right now,
by scoring more points than the other team.
Playing good basketball.
Keep doing that, the win streak will continue.
The key thing, like we got disjointed a couple of times just with like the disconnects and everything, so we didn't really get to talk about it a lot. But like, the most important thing about the win streak to me against good teams, they close them out. Like, like you're not gonna when you play the Heat, it's not like playing Charlotte. It's not like Charlotte's a better team this year, but the Heat are a championship caliber team. So when they're playing Charlotte, they beat Charlotte by 20 points. Then Charlotte makes it within 6, and then they wake up and go, okay, now we give a shit again, and then they win by 15.
You know what the one real thing they can do? Andrew, actually not going 9 for 18 from the line. That was like shit like that. Like,
listen, free throws. I don't know. Like if this was Dwayne Casey, would have had those guys shooting free throws for full practice.
Yes,
the entire practice.
They wouldn't have left after the game. They would have been like forced to fucking stay there.
You gotta run some laps, right, Andrew?
And it's not like you were saying this, Andrew. You said like this is a Shaq-less team that can't shoot free throws as consistently. It's like there's no dead like shooters on this team. Like they all should be okay at it.
It's just like
it's a practice thing.
Everyone keeps missing one free throw.
And with free throws, it's a practice thing. Like you can get better at free throws, and if you're a good shooter, you should be good at free throws. It's practice and concentration.
But have we looked at are free throws down in the entire league right now because there is less practice time? Or is it just the Raptors?
Actually, I'd have to look, but that would make a lot of sense, actually, if it was down. I wouldn't say it'd be down substantially, but I could see it being down in a little bit, just based on the fact that, exactly, it is a thing where it's a repetition. It's very much a repetition thing, and if you don't have those reps, it would be really hard to get at it. Then again, it's also hard not to get those reps if you really want to, because all you need is a hoop.
I'm only seeing by decade.
OG's like 40 points down from last year. I mean, that's
Jesus.
One.
And OG shouldn't, like, he's a guy that should be shooting like 80% from 3.
Yeah, he should be.
Or not from 3, 80% from 3. Yeah, that'd be nice. 80% from the free throw line.
And Siakam is like at like 73%. He was like
he's generally a high 70s guy, but he's also only played 22 games this season so far.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true too.
So like he's the only one that gets the benefit of the doubt that way, just because he has half the sample size. Like for him, he's only really played a quarter of the season, so you could see his numbers being a little weird, right?
Yeah,
like where the percentages don't fully line up. I'm saying like where he's not fully at his career averages. Everyone else though, it's not really like OG. That one's wild to me.
It's 40 points.
It can't be 40 points because
it was
then
like
he'd be shooting.
78 last year. It's 74 now.
So it's 4 points.
Oh, 4. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought they said 40. How?
Oh God, no.
Did he have like Alonzo regression?
Yeah.
Started shooting like this.
Honestly, LaMelo needs to ask his brother how to play defense after yesterday's game.
LaMelo doesn't play defense. Lonzo always played defense. That's the
you don't make the All-Star game playing defense, Andrew.
Clearly.
LaMelo's never going to play defense.
Actually, no. Why is Gobert on the All-Star team if,
defense only? Don't ask me why.
You're right. He shouldn't be on the All-Star team.
He made it because probably all of the Mormons voted for him.
Well, he's on the bench, so it's just they have stated this. The Utah's good, so they put both of them on again.
By the way, do you guys vote for these things when these All-Star? But I always forget to.
I did as much as I could, but yeah.
I retweeted one thing for Fred that counted for 2 votes. So
all the engagement on Anthony's Twitter, that probably put it over the edge. You're right.
Well, I did 2 votes at least.
I'll generally throw in the votes, but I'm not going to be out there mashing.
Last time I remember doing it was the Steve Delabar one. I was all about that. That was the big thing.
What they need to do is try and get a celebrity to say something. Drake never said anything this year.
Drake doesn't pay attention.
You know what's funny? It's generally Bieber that does it too.
Yeah.
Well, Drake's on the Canadian soccer bandwagon right now, so he's a little busy.
Drake's too busy bringing his son to the Raptors games. It's him, his son, and Masai. That's it. Those are the only fans in the building.
Bothering Masai while he's trying to watch the game.
Some of those pictures were hilarious. The look on Masai's face.
Yeah.
Fucking hilarious.
What happened to social distancing? This guy's sitting right next to him.
Dog, social distancing at sporting events has never made sense because they allow a select number of people in, and then instead of spacing them across the stadium, they put them all in one section.
I will say, at the soccer game, the Canada soccer game, they actually did it pretty good.
Soccer,
outside the supporter section,
properly.
No, they did line by line. Every other line was filled, except for the supporter section. That was clogged. That was just whoever wanted to go over there. But
no one was going to listen.
Around the stadium, it was it made sense. It looked more full.
You could see it on the TV that was the only time that they'd done that. Every other example of that has been hilariously bad.
It's aesthetically pleasing to watch. I'm just saying for social distancing shit. It's just whoa, it looks like it's full, but it's not. It's just every other row is full. So.
It's safer and it's more aesthetically pleasing. Figure your shit out, people.
Anyways, we got anything else for this?
I was about to say.
So there's OKC next, and then after that it's the Rockets, I think, and then it's Jokic. So we'll see how they play against that, I guess. Unfortunately, that's after the trade deadline, so it's not like we could say hey, let's see how they play against one of the best centers in the league, and then we'll see if we need to trade. To get a center.
Although the problem, that Denver team, just when Jokic isn't it's hilarious if you look at the numbers when Jokic is on the floor. And
his on-off numbers are insane.
They're the best team ever when he's on the floor. They're the worst team ever when he's off the floor. It's something. But anyways,
He just carries the whole team.
They've been talking about it all season. If you look at his plus minus numbers, that's why people have been screaming that he's the MVP. For example, Zach Lowe, part of the reason he's been screaming that he's the MVP and people should shut up about anyone else is because of the numbers of him on the floor and him off the floor. Yeah. At one point during the season, he when he was on the floor, they were on pace for the greatest offensive most possessions officially. That was their setup. And then when he's off the floor, they're minus a million. It's nuts. But anything else? Well, Jamal Murray when he after the that torn ACL, it's just really never been the same.
Porter's out too.
Michael Porter Jr.'s back, which was never good to begin with, and then they gave him a real max contract.
Yeah,
smart.
Mm-hmm. That was always going to be an issue, but yeah. Anyways, anything else you boys want to get to before we wrap this up?
No, I'll save all my curling talk for off the air. You guys.
Yeah.
Honestly, everyone out there in Raptorland, please hope that Masai makes a good trade.
Hope.
He always
will.
Does. What do you mean hope? He's
okay. All right.
Okay. He's had a track record of being terrible.
You're right.
Please, for the love of God, you sound
no, but I just remember that one year that what was it? The Lou Williams and Greidas Vasquez year that they didn't do anything at the deadline, and we know what happened. So.
Well, Masai's history is not actually doing much at the deadline. The only time he really went nuts was when they won the title, but that was because it was we need to maximize the Kawhi season, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do this year if they do something big, because usually Masai's go-to is filling in around the edges. It's either a minor move or it's buyouts. So
Brooklyn's down by 30 right now to Boston. Oh my, they are in an absolute. Brooklyn is losing by 30 to the Celtics right now.
Why can't anyone beat Boston right now? They're on Raptors' tail right now.
Yeah, they're on the same win streak we're on right now.
This is what I had said about Boston all year. Is at some point, if like something seems wrong with them as a group, but if they ever figured it out, they're terrifying because of how talented they are. And let's hope that's not happening.
12 shots tonight in 20 minutes. So
we thought that's
the Brooklyn Nets roster right now.
Okay.
We thought the Celtics and Raptors were going to be a playing game. It's going to be a 3-6 game. The way this is going.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
And Kyrie can't play here. So.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he can. They changed the. I think they changed the. They said the guys wouldn't be.
Oh really?
Or no, they changed it back because what's his face from the American team couldn't play. I think they were gonna let them in at one point or whatever, and then that changed because of Omicron. I don't know. I don't know what's happening in the world anymore. Everything changes every fucking day. But before we go down that that tangent, this is it for the Toronto Until podcast. I'm Steve Artabello, Theo Giordano, Anthony Harris, and Andrew Clarke joining us today to talk Raptors. As always, you can find us at our website, torontoontilt.com. You can find us at our Twitter, at Toronto on Tilt. We're live on Twitch. You can find us by searching Toronto on Tilt. We're live on YouTube, but we'll also have this video posted there. You just got to search for Toronto on Tilt. It's a theme. You can like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends. Also, the audio of this podcast will be posted anywhere that you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Bleaker, all of the things. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell your friends that the Raptors are, they're a lot better than everyone